my goodness. Oh my goodness, look at this. Okay, so here's the difference. That is a massive difference. Data Color reached out to me and sent me a copy of their SpyderX Pro color calibrator to both try out and make a video on. And I've also gotten a few requests from you guys for a tutorial on calibrating monitors or just, getting colors accurate in general for your images. So I thought, this is perfect. The main purpose for these kinds of tools is to preserve proper colors that your camera sees at the time of the shoot, all the way to the final outcome, whether you're going for print or just sharing it online. And especially if you're doing food photography, getting colors accurate and consistent is a pretty big deal. And on top of that, if your computer monitor itself isn't even showing you accurate colors to begin with, chances are the final images aren't going to represent the most accurate or true colors from your subject. So that's why tools like these can be super important to have. And with that, there are two things we're going to calibrate in order to ensure that the proper color is preserved from the time the picture is taken to the final result. Number one is my camera using the Spyder color checker, and number two is my computer monitor using the SpyderX Pro. Now, to show you just how much of a difference this can make, I'll first edit an image without any calibration to my camera or my monitor. Then I'll do the same process, this time with the calibration in place, then I'll compare the results with you in the end. All right, so the monitor has been reset to its factory settings, and I'm gonna edit the photo I just took with an uncalibrated monitor. So let's hop right in. This is the photo right here. Let's see how I would edit this. So right now, I'm just gonna increase the exposure a little bit. Let's lift the shadows. But in terms of the color, actually pretty decent. I'm gonna lower the tint a little bit. I'm gonna actually increase the white balance too. Again, I'm just tweaking the settings little by little. Some texture, maybe some clarity. Not a lot of adjustments. It's just, playing around with it. So right now, to my eye, it looks decent. Right now, the color looks good. This is how I'd typically edit a photo. But the thing is, this monitor is uncalibrated. So now we're gonna calibrate both my camera and this monitor, and then we're gonna re-edit this photo in a bit. So let's do that. All right, now that I've edited that image with an uncalibrated monitor, let's go ahead and do the calibrations, starting with the monitor. I'm gonna do it just kind of unscripted in front of you guys here, so we're gonna be doing it together. The first step, when you open the box, is you have to download the software. And they give you a link to the software right about here. So I'm gonna do that right now. So I have the SpyderX Pro, so I need to click on SpyderX Pro for Windows. And let's download that up and right here. All right, so software downloaded, I'm gonna install it. All right, so in the very first window, it kind of gives you this checklist to make sure that certain conditions are met before you calibrate the screen. The first one is, have you allowed your display to warm up for half an hour? My screen has been on for more than half an hour, so it's yes. Lighting conditions, have you checked that no intense light is falling directly on your display screen? The truth is right now I have a bunch of lights kind of blasting in this room, so technically, yes, I do have intense light, but just for this demo, I'm gonna say, no, I don't. Display controls, have you reset your monitor settings? Yes. Reset contrast to default settings? Yes, I have. I did that in the previous example. Set the color temperature control to 6,500 degrees Kelvin. I believe I did that already. Let me double check though. Yeah, I did not actually. So let's go color temperature. 65. All right, and then plug in the Spyder into a computer USB port, not into a hub or a keyboard. Okay, he is plugged into the computer. Now I'm gonna click next. And what type of display are you calibrating? I'm doing a desktop, so I'm gonna click next. It actually detects the type of display. It says Dell, and then enter the desktop display model. I think I'll just leave it where whatever it is, generic PNP. All right, and it says, I indicate which controls your desktop display offers. Okay, so brightness, Kelvin presets, they offer both. So I'm gonna click next. So in this part, I wasn't really sure when I did this before which category my monitor falls under, but I looked up my monitor and it didn't seem to be this high-end professional grade display. So because of that, I'm going to select standard LED, which is what it was already on. All right, and then it says choose your calibration settings. We have 3 options. We can recalibrate, check the accuracy. Of course, I'm gonna do full cal or full calibration. All right, place the Spyder on the desk as shown below. Okay, so I'm gonna place the Spyder right here, click next. Okay, so it says room light is very high. This level is not recommended as expected. I do have lights kind of blasting in this room right now. Just for this demonstration, I'm gonna click accept recommended settings. All right, it says place the Spyder on the display as shown. Okay, so you take this display, you can crack it open like that. So you can place it on the monitor like so, but if it doesn't reach, the cool thing is you can adjust it by pulling this over and giving you more flexibility to hang this on whatever size monitor you have. One thing you do have to make sure is that it's flat on the screen. So what I like to do is tilt the screen up so that the calibrator rests completely flat on the monitor. So once that's done, I'm gonna click next and it's going to calibrate. And right now it's just a matter of waiting. All right, it says click the update button to measure the screen brightness. Okay, so right now the screen is a little too dim. That's because the lights around me are really bright. So it wants me to increase the brightness. So you're gonna have to do that manually. Here's the brightness. Let's go up to 35. Once you adjust it, you click update. Okay, so the target is 200 and right now I'm at 181. So I'm gonna go a little bit brighter. Let's do 3 points, update. Almost there, maybe do 1 more point, click update. Right about there, I'm gonna do 1 more 40 update. That's about right, that's okay. All right, I'm gonna exit out of here and I'm gonna click continue. And just a note guys, this is going pretty fast. Traditionally, color calibration takes anywhere between 1 to 2 hours. So if this is doing what it's supposed to do, this is actually really fast. All right, and it is done. So now it says, please remove your Spyder and click finish. All right, let's move that. So basically what it did now is it created a profile for this calibration. Since we're gonna be doing it again, I'm gonna label the profile calibration, and then I'm gonna put the date today. So 2020, September 8th. That's when I recorded this video. And then I'm gonna click save. All right, it says congratulations, your new profile has been created and your system will automatically use this profile. All right, so then click next. You can actually toggle between the uncalibrated view and the calibrated view, so you can see kind of what the SpyderX Pro did. So I'm gonna click switch. It looks like what the calibration did overall to the whites of the screen is it made it a little bit more green. That's because the uncalibrated view looks a little bit more magenta, and so it shifted towards green, which makes sense. So it's balancing it out. In terms of the colors, if we look here, let's look at the Spyder checker right here. If I switch between this is the uncalibrated view, calibrated view. If anything, the calibrated view looks a little bit more saturated, but not by much. I think the biggest difference is the shift between magenta to more green, which I think it's just balancing it out. So, all right, so now I'm gonna click next, and here we can see the calibration comparing to different color spaces. So sRGB, NTSC, I don't really pay attention to this, and we're done. Now that our monitor is calibrated, I'm gonna calibrate the camera using the Spyder color checker. And what this is going to do ultimately is give me a preset that will have the correct, more true to life tones in the specific environment that I'm currently shooting in. And you'll see how it'll work for the image that I initially shot earlier. So right here, I have the image that I just took in the same environment that I shot this image at. Okay, that's very important to note, is that whatever lighting condition you have, whatever final lighting condition, make sure to shoot to the color checker in that same spot, okay? That way we can calibrate the colors from this lighting setup. So the next step is to crop it in so that the corners of the crop tool match these 4 dots that are on the Spyder color checker. So I'm gonna crop it in as close as I can get it. So right now it's a little bit off. As you can see, the bottoms here don't quite match. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, but I think in this case, it's good to kind of be safe and make sure. So I'm gonna go to the transform tool and I'm actually gonna fix the vertical axis so that the sides align. As you can see right here on the left side, The crop tool aligns with the side of the Spyder color checker. So that looks good at -16 and 4 corners, 4 dots. That's a better match than it was before. All right, so now at this point, it's a matter of getting the right white balance and the luminosity tones to where I need them to be. So first, let's do white balance. So I'm gonna go to white balance and choose the white balance selector tool. I'm gonna click on one of the gray patches and I'm gonna click right in the center of it. And right now it gives me a reading of 6150 for the temperature and +10 for the tint. So that's our starting reference point for the white balance. And next, we're gonna take care of the tones. All you need to remember is that the white patch needs to be as close to 90% as possible. So what I mean by that is when I hover over the white patch, notice on the histogram here, right below it, you're gonna see percentages of from the RGB channels. The goal is to get that at 90% or as close to it as possible. So I'm looking at it right now. I'm actually gonna click on highlights and let's see what that does. As you can see, when I go up in incremental points for the highlights, the percentages go up right there. So red is 90.2, green is 90, and then blue is 89.5. That's pretty close, right? Okay, so now the next one is the blacks. So I'm gonna go down to this black patch down here. And right now when I hover over it, it's hovering around 9%. The goal is to get it at 5%. So I'm gonna keep it here. I'm gonna choose blacks here, and I'm gonna go down until I see 5 in the percentages. 6, 5, 4, there it is. Oh, that's perfect. At -26 blacks, we get 5% on RG and B. Awesome, okay. Now, the next step is to export it as a JPEG. So I'm gonna hit Control-Shift-E, and I'm going to export it into the folder that I wish. I'm gonna put it under Spyder Checker here. It's just a folder that I have ready, and export. Okay, so now once that's exported, we're gonna go into the software, and I'm simply going to click File, Open Image, locate the image that I just exported, which is right here. I'm gonna click Open, and it's gonna open it up in the software. Now, the first thing to do in the software is to make sure to align what are called these target samples, which are these little squares inside these patches, and align them in the center of the patches as much as possible. And we can do that by just clicking over the edge and waiting for these double-edged arrows to show up and dragging up or down or right to left, wherever you are, and making sure these target samples are in the middle of these patches as much as possible. So here we go. Let's try that. This bottom doesn't look very in the middle. There you go. And that looks good. Is that right? Well, that looks good to me. The next step is to choose the mode. Now, when you click on this drop-down menu, you're gonna see 3 options. You're gonna see saturation, colorimetric, and portrait. Colorimetric is the kind of like the most common option. It gives you the most accuracy for most studio work. If you wanna do things like landscapes, then saturation would be your thing. Or if you're doing portraits and you wanna make sure the skin tones are as accurate as can be, then you would select portrait. But for my case, I'm gonna select colorimetric. All right, and then the next step is to make sure it's saved to Lightroom, because I'm using Lightroom, and I'm gonna hit Save Calibration. And here it gives me the chance to label the preset. So I'm gonna call it Custom Preset 1. All right, so I'm gonna click OK. And so it has saved a custom preset to the folder where the developed presets are located within Lightroom's folders. So I'm gonna click Quit, and it will not show up in Lightroom unless I restart it. So I'm gonna click Exit, Shut Down, do not back up this time. So now that I've gone through the process of calibrating my camera and my monitor, I now have a much better starting point for my editing. And this can make the process of editing much easier because I can feel confident knowing that the colors are accurate from the start, and I can make adjustments based on my style and vision for the photo. All right, so we're back in Lightroom, and if I go to the side window here, and I go to my presets, you can see that custom preset is now available. So I'm gonna click on our original image, and I'm now gonna edit this image using the new preset. I'm going to select it, hit Control'', and this is gonna bring up a virtual copy, and then I will reset out the original by hitting Control-Shift-R. There it is, it's reset. And I'm going to have this as my previous edit, and then I'm going to show you the edit now with the calibration both on the camera and on the monitor on this image. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to go over to the custom preset, and already you can see when I hover over it and hover off of it, you can see the difference it's already making. So here we applied the preset, and I will now edit from start to finish using this custom preset. All right, so let's see here. I'm gonna raise the exposure a little bit. Okay, raise the shadows. Blacks are fine, highlights are a little bright. Oh, what I forgot to mention is that when you click on the preset, you know it made changes to the color, because if you head to the HSL panel, you can see that all of the sliders for luminance, saturation, and hue have been changed. So it looks like what the Spyder checker did, it dialed in precisely the adjustments made to Canon's colors. So you can see what it did right here in luminance, in saturation, and hue, okay? So right now this looks good to me. I'm gonna leave it the way it is. Now let's go ahead and compare it to the original edit. Oh my goodness, look at this. Okay, so here's the difference. That is a massive difference. As you can see, it's a pretty significant difference from editing the image on an uncalibrated monitor versus the calibrated monitor, along with the camera calibration as well. The left image looks much cleaner and more vibrant and bright, while the right image looks a little bit more muddy and warm. It's not a terrible edit, like I think it can still stand on its own. I just don't think the colors are shown to its fullest potential in that right image. All right, well, I can probably guess that this process isn't the most popular amongst photographers, but just from this one example, do you see how it can dramatically impact the quality of your images in the end? And I know Datacolor sent me this unit to test and make a video on, but I also chose to do it because I believe this process plays a vital role in your work as a photographer. In any case, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you aren't already. Other than that, I hope you're doing good and are staying safe out there, and I will talk with you in the next video. Bye.